Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Battle Brothers Season 3. As today, it's officially time. We've got our next legendary target locked in our sights, and the Raiders, they're about as ready as they're ever going to be for this, at least with our current roster. Though, with that in mind, I did make the decision to ultimately sideline the majority of our nimble bros. For better or worse, that's just kind of what goblins are designed to hard counter, so we're going in with as many of our heavy armored bros as we can, though even then we did still have to fit in at least a couple of our more fragile nimble bros, which does mean that we're going in with Seymore, Mark, and Arrow, all under particularly dire threat. We'll need to be extra careful with them because they're the ones who are most vulnerable to those goblin poisons. But, we'll see how it goes. To those who are about to die, etc., etc. You return to the city, but the stranger you met earlier is nowhere to be seen. However, what is seen is an enormous contingent of goblin forces marching out of their city. They're in lockstep and chittering loudly. Their leaders sit atop saddled wolves with their war banners tilting side to side as though it were a fleet set to sea. Goblin families stand perched at the gates. They're throwing handfuls of bones upon the marchers, and sometimes you see a dog or human limb get tossed down, and whichever goblin catches it holds it up like a trophy, and the surrounding troop cheers. It takes a full hour for the army to pass, at which time the goblins at the gates recede back into the city, and a few guards mill about. There's still plenty yet to put up a good fight, but not enough to handle the Retcon Raiders. I mean, you say that, but yeah, let's hope. Scouts report lots of goblin ambushers, a plethora of goblin skirmishers, a few goblin overseers and shamans, and many goblin wolf riders. Oh, is that all? Easy. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if you're going to immediately give us height advantage, then you know what? This might actually be pretty manageable. What do we got? I'm saying 2 overseers, 2 shamans. Mark, why don't you hold tight? We've got to see where those wolf riders are headed. Then we'll get ourselves dug in. Though I will say at a glance, this spot right here seems to be the best place to set you. We just need to make sure we've got you covered first. But once you're there, we only have to cover you from 3 adjoining hexes. Slightly tougher with Arrow, but we'll figure that out. The ambush sprung. The raiders used the goblins' cliffside fortifications against them, attacking from higher up the slopes said fortifications were built into. The baying wolf riders, the first to react, branching out to either side, spreading their line thin as they sought to flank and engulf the arrogant attackers. Spry skirmishers subsequently scrambling up the slope, nets and bolas at the ready, but at distinct disadvantage given that they were literally fighting an uphill battle. Though I will say, they got up there a whole lot faster than I thought they would. I guess they've got Pathfinder. I don't know if I ever realized that before. Normally they're way too cautious to just rush us like that. They tend to hunker down. But I suppose that's not really a good option for them this time out. Oh wow, yeah, they've already eaten the entire upper slope. We'll have to retake that. And as the green tide crested the hilltop, the raiders finally pushed back. Giannis the first to make a move. The ever-eager gladiator surging forth, gilded khopesh, cleaving through a goblin's ribs. Rax readily pushing up behind. The half-gutted goblin reduced to gore. Seymore stepped up next, unwieldy blade held high. A lumbering overhead strike, another goblin split in twain. Random holding the southern slope. Rook pushing up center. Jabbing through another jackanapes joint. Verlin held where he was, ready to ward off wolves. Malafnoy mauling another miscreant. Seymore cleared the last stretch of slope. With a bonus kill to boot. Already 5 goblins lay dead. Douglas stepping up behind. And seeing their vanguard so violently culled, the rest of the goblin guards took a slightly more cautious posture. A scattering of arrows raining across raider line. Mark finally moving up. Handgun held steady. Sights set on the closer shaman. But alas, no luck. One ambusher slightly bloodied, but no other notable results. Arrow angling forward as well. Ending the injured ambusher. And unhanding the shaman as well. Goblins closed ranks round the raiders north. Approaching over even ground. Diego quickly falling back, spear set. Ready to hold back that tide. Random stepping in as well, keeping Mark covered, gesturing for Arrow to tuck into the one last spot left open. And despite their early losses, the Overseers' whips cracked. The rest of their retinue kept on task under threat of pain. Though even that wouldn't be enough if the raiders could maintain their current pace. Another scattering of envenomed arrows engulfed the raider line, and then the riders made their move. Surging in from the sides even as nets soared overhead. Seymore entangled. Seymore right after. Verlin valiantly holding the south. Giannis entangled. Doug as well. The riders coming in to capitalize. The raider formation stalled before it could finish, folding in on itself. Their back line left partially exposed. Mark took aim, dropping to one knee as he set his sights. Another cavernous boom sent limbs flying. No goblins killed, but several near gutted. Giannis hastily hacking at thick ropes, trying to free himself and other nearby raiders. And Rax attacked. Another goblin topped off. Seymore finding less luck, hindered as he was with hemp. Oop, not what I meant to do, but that's fine. Rook rallied the raiders, helping them keep calm heads. And the root issue returned. The raiders' northern line once again locked. Douglas hammering away those harrying vines as quickly as they appeared. Arrow entrenching. And shooting the injured shaman through. Before, once again, unhanding another. And Random hemmed him in, watching the archer's back whilst he worked. The closest goblin Over-seared doing likewise. Mal grunting at glancing shot, then promptly taking off a target's head. Verlin finished closing ranks. Seymore mounting his own assault. Rax removed restraint, but still held back. And yet more arrows let fly, clattering off raider armor, whistling overhead. But the raider retinue remained remarkably unscathed. Honestly, even Mal really lucked out with that one Over-seared bolt that hit him. Barely dented his armor. Doug's probably under the biggest threat right now. I think he's got the lowest defense. A blistering blast. 2 more blaggarts blown away. Holy moly, look at all those. Look at all that flagging morale. We might actually be about to win this thing, even though they're still 30 strong. Yeah, they've already lost both Over-seers. But they do still have 2 shamans. As ripples of reticence ran through the enemy lines, the raiders quickly pushed back. Random cracking sensor cross skull. Diego digging in. Then freeing up Rax. And Rax moved in. Though struggled to strike spry foe. Perhaps because they had now reprioritized towards escape. Over half the goblins' number now seeking to exit. Not, of course, that the raiders were looking to give them that chance. Mal mauling another wolf and rider. Seymore finally snapping free of surly bonds. Descending on Over-seared. Giannis doing the same on North. Second Over-seared locked. And the ever-dwindling number of defenders gave a truly pathetic pushback. An Overseer ended under Giannis's blade. The other escaping Sigmar's wrath, huh? Really figured he had that. And just like that, the floodgates flew open, the tide rolling back out. Though a few did at least manage to rally. Some scattered strikes coming in here and there, easily evaded by the ever more confident raiders. And, you know, to their credit, although largely routed, the goblins did land a few hits here and there. Though nowhere near enough to even remotely improve their odds. Mark mowed down one more, then moved up. Though perhaps a bit prematurely, because there was still a third Overseer in the mix. But the southern line was all but done, with Arrow ushering their leaders off. Second Shaman felled, second Overseer taking 2 through the throat. But the remaining Shaman continued to stubbornly hold the line for all the good it did him. Giannis yeeting yet one more. Diego digging into a dastard's shoulder. I mean, the roots are definitely slowing us down, just nowhere near enough to really help them. As evidenced by another ended by Verlin's violence. Mal made his move. Finally breaking ranks, trying to run down the last few fleeing on south. Whilst several on the north began a somewhat panicked fighting withdrawal. A few managing to keep their heads enough to stagger their retreat, to pop off shots as they fell back. Though, you know, others, of course, showed slightly less restraint. Rax wrecked Rider. Giannis yet one more. Seymore catching one. Oh, and look at that. Overseer 2 briefly back in, just long enough to crack that whip. Before keeling over, clutching at crimson carved throat. The raiders took a few more shots, but honestly, at this point, half the goblin garrison lay dead. So it was really just cleanup from here. The few who still somehow had the nerve to fight would no doubt inevitably break as their own were continuously culled. Verlin facing one off on west. Giannis dismounting another assault, though weariness finally took its toll. Random wasting a wolf. Mal taking a moment to catch his breath. Something all the raiders now had to at least consider. Though others, like Seymore, simply continued the slaughter. Arrow angled the shot. Taking thaumaturge through thigh. Seymore cutting off another escape. And another. Just narrowly beating out Giannis. Honestly, I've got to say, as far as legendary locations go, this feels like it might have been our easiest yet. Really would have helped if they'd had something unique here to give these guys an edge outside of their 40-plus squad size. It's funny, though, because, I do think this is one of the original vanilla legendary locations, so it does feel like those might have just kind of gotten outpaced. Oh, snap! Look at that. They actually managed to poison Rook. Hey, good for you. Bye. And Shaman 3 fell, blown to bits by reproachful reply. Though, technically, I think it was actually the ambushers out back that managed to tag Rook. Wow, really? Alright, I mean, if you really want to keep fighting, guess we can do this. But yeah, I was saying, it is funny because this, I think, is one of the original vanilla legendary locations, and it does feel like they've kind of gotten outpaced, I guess, by all the more complex, fancy, and unique mechanics of the later editions. Some I still outright dread, like the Kraken or the Sunken Library. The Obsidian Monolith I'm kind of on the fence with now because, we know we can steamroll ancient honor guards. However, we also know undead are immune to fear, which was basically what won us this fight. I mean, we had over half their number demoralized by, round 4? That's just not going to happen at the Obsidian Monolith. Giannis cut another down. The first fleeing foes fading from sight. At least a few would live to see another day. Though certainly not all, because some still stubbornly continued to fight, despite the fact their leaders all lay dead or long gone, since I think we did lose the third Over-seared. But the raiders were fine with that at this point. Victory was such a foregone conclusion, they were simply going through the motions. Just racking up those kills. Bit of a shame about Doug. I really wish he'd gotten a chance to claim a few more himself. But, as a hammer bro, he's really better suited for heavily armored Orcan targets as opposed to these goblin goons. We are making good time though. Maybe we'll hit up an orc camp on the way out. Give him a chance to make a slightly heftier impact. Honestly, it's funny I ever even assumed he was in any real danger here. Though, you know, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. Things, I suppose, could have definitely taken a turn if those first couple of rounds had gone even slightly different. Maybe we really did just get lucky. It's hard to say, though. It feels like things turned so overwhelmingly in our favor by, like, round 3 or 4. It's tough to say if it really could have gone all that much worse. I mean, definitely if the goblins had started with a high ground. Honestly, they probably should have had fortifications. That would have also definitely made a difference. If the goblins had a raised fortified position to fight from, it would have made this much more of an uphill slog. But weirdly, we had the high ground, so with no cover, they had no choice but to rush us, and I mean, we can all see how that turned out. I don't know, strangely easy encounter. Yeah, I think we're good. Get out of here. Nicely done, Raiders. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I got myself all hyped up for this, and you just ended up steamrolling. Let's have a look at the loot. Oh wow, way less than I would have expected. 15 gold? Seriously? Alright, well, we did get what looks to be a unique helmet. The Emperor's Countenance. A golden helmet and face mask showing the visage of an emperor from an age long past, imbued with mystical energies. When you hold it into the light, it almost looks as if the face were moving and making expressions of disgust. Super heavy helmet that reflects 25% of damage taken in melee back to the attacker. Ooh, that's fun. Though also slightly counterintuitive, because like if it's super heavy, you're not really expecting your guy to take that much damage to begin with. But still about the closest I think we'll ever get to an actual outright magic item. Next to the obsidian dagger, of course. And not much else worth noting, but, you know, we'll take the choicer goods. Not that there's really many to be had, because, I mean, the majority of these goblin items come in under the 1,000 gold mark, which really doesn't make them worth the space. Not for a delve this deep out into the wildlands, so, I mean, I guess we'll just leave the rest of this stuff behind. Which, you know, also really does kind of clinch it. We've still got ample space. Let's go hit up another target. Oh, but first, the Goblin Vanguard vanquished. You march on the city to ransack it. Tiny goblins are slain and scalped or beheaded. More yet scurry around you like ants, each carrying something above their heads like human skulls or treasures, and one sprints madly about toting a flagpole with its banner aflame, and another dances with the decapitated head of a wolf. Your men turn over huts and shanties and kick out leaners, and anything found breathing is put to an end. An ancient fortress the goblins used for a city core is set upon with a pillager's eye. You enter the halls yourself and there find a blind goblin crawling with a wreath of human femurs hanging from its neck. The greenskin chitters and chamfers in your general direction, no doubt sensing your presence, though a pained grimace on its face means it also senses the annihilation of its people. You gut the greenskin and leave it to die on the stone floor. Your mercenaries run ahead and into a council room full of elders and cut them all down in a murderous frenzy that has limbs flying and fingers scattering and blood shooting up the walls and across the tables. You head outside to the castle yard, Here you find a pile of dead humans, some mutilated, others charged, one stuffed with a torch as though his ribcage were a brazier. Past the corpses you spot the wolf rider kennels. You have wolf cages burned and their trainers thrown in the fires to die with them. One of the wolves breaks free and sprints further into the city with a cape of flame for fur. It runs from abode to abode, barking and howling for relief. You watch as the flames rapidly burn thatched huts and straw-roofed shacks. Before you yourself are consumed in the fiery carnage, you order the men back and watch the whole place burn to the ground. With the savages taken care of, you take inventory of the loot. But who is that? As you count the loot, the stranger who ordained this entire goblin-slaying strategy reappears. You can't even see the color of him, for he is utterly drenched in goblin guts and gore. He's got a few scalps in hand and a pouch that has ears and noses poking out the top, and blood dripping from the bottom. He nods. "All is well, traveler. All is well. We did good." You ask him if he set the fire. He nods. "Goblins stagger the rear guard in mazes of walls and mines. I shuttered their escapes to hem the population between two walls, closed the way out, closed the way in, and set fire to everything. They perished quickly. I see you fared well. You can keep the loot. I've no use for it." He turns and walks away. You yell out to him, this outrageous warrior, and ask how much he'd want to join the company. This time he turns back. "Oh, traveler, this joke! Ha ha! Comedy, delightful, truly. But my work will not be stalled until every goblin has been destroyed." Fair enough. The man's purpose is his own. But you're curious. You ask how many cities are out there. 23. Oh, sorry, did you ask how many there are in total? 23 I've destroyed. But still in existence there are, 2, 3, I wager 4,000. Good travels, traveler. This time he departs for good. You look back at the RetconRaiders. They are in rare agreement. They wish they hadn't heard any of that. That few, huh? I mean, honestly, considering how easy this one went down, I feel like we could probably put a pretty serious dent in those numbers, but no, I think we've probably had our fill. Honestly, in retrospect, this really does seem to kind of highlight the need for more goblin champions. I've mentioned it before, but for some weird reason, goblins are the only faction that do the reverse of the normal champion formula. They only have champions for their weakest units, their ambushers and their skirmishers, the generic rank and file, whereas the bulk of the other baddies generally only have champions as their higher ranking units. And in this particular case, it really does feel like they should have had champion overseers and champion shamans. That might have helped them hold out, though I suppose it would also require introducing potential unique goblin crossbows and such, which are already pretty powerful weapons. I mean, if we were rocking crossbows rather than handguns, that would definitely be the way I'd go. But regardless, it is done. Another legendary target wiped off the map, and with little time to spare, I really do feel like we need another halfway decent fight here, and thankfully we've got no shortage of potential targets. But not goblins, I think. Let's angle for one of these orc camps, perhaps. I mean, I'd like to strip off another layer of fog anyway whilst we're out here. Let's have a quick peek. Oberak. A plethora of orc young, some orc berserkers, many orc warriors, and a single orc warlord. I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy, but, one sec, let me rearrange our line and come up with some quick narrative framing. we're back, with the Goblin city of Rulz left in ruins. The raiders now set their sights on a return to civilization, but as they did, the anatomists pored over many a map and document retrieved from the Goblin's gore-drenched grip. Soon realizing that despite decapitating the Greenskin invasion, the body still yet lived. The Goblins may have been the brains, but the orcs were the true brawn. And bereft of the Goblins' cunning, they would simply go back to what they had done before, operating on pure savage impulse and muscle memory, albeit now gathered on the edges of an already beleaguered borderland. And thus, using those maps, they once again went in, targeting the orc war camp of Oberak, led by one of the fiercer war chiefs, who still yet waged this war. And thus, the raiders once again went in vain hope of keeping the local settlements on life support. A futile effort long-term, perhaps, but, as long as it lasted at least the rest of their lifetime, it was well worth the bloodshed. Though I will say I did slightly underestimate this particular fight. 32 strong, man, that's honestly almost as much as Rulz itself. Albeit with, admittedly, much more dangerous targets. In theory. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, maybe we outclass orcs too. I guess we'll see. They are very vulnerable to the whole fear mechanic, which is kind of what we built our current company around. Fingers crossed. Arrow angled a shot into an approaching orc's chest, but the raiders otherwise refused to break rank, holding strong, staying right where they were as they invited the enemy's approach. The orcs really were just mindless brutes, something the raiders knew well by now. The merest vestiges of intelligence, bowed beneath the weight of primitive urge and instinct. They wore themselves down, rushing in over uneven terrain. But then swiftly meeting their end neath Raider Blade. Seymore claiming the first. Drakiith double dazed, but still standing strong. He is, I think, our weakest link in the current lineup. Aside from maybe Doug, but that's why we've got Doug on the back line. And Rax attacked. Number 2, decapped. Random cracking the skull of the one whom had reached their flank. The rest of the orcs seeming nonplussed, especially as yet another took an arrow through the throat. As the raiders had seen many a time before, the burly brutes simply didn't know what to make of men who did not scream and flee at the sight of them. Some vestigial survival instinct blared warning in their heads, long disused and disregarded, but now, at least briefly, giving them pause. But they notably did not retreat. Perhaps in part because the burliest among them, the mighty warlord Ilskagul, still yet stood. So the raiders continued to fight. Alois amputating an errant orc's limb. Verlin setting his spear, ready to hold back the green tide. Mal holding where he was. Might get him stunned, but that's better than immediately surrounded. We've got the edge on these guys, but that doesn't mean we should just throw caution to the wind. Valin pinned one through the foot. Arrow putting him 3 feet under. Random cleared the flank. Mal briefly stunned, as anticipated. Alois hobbled a hooligan. Rax removing him entirely, plus 1 beside. And the orcs continued their uncharacteristically cautious approach. But for the brash youth who continued to recklessly rush to their doom. Plus the berserkers, of course, who were really in no state of mind to know any better. All but frothing at the mouth, those mushroom-crazed mad lads simply knew no fear. The rest, though, they definitely seemed to know a bit better. Even the warlord himself exercising unusual restraint, lurching forward 1 ungainly step at a time, cleaver gripped tight, eyes narrowed as he tried to assess the threat. Drak lacerated a lout. Val putting him out of his misery. Then disemboweling the one behind. Alois angled a shot. Catching 2 more coming round the flank. Mal massacred a mook, one whom had realized too late the certain death he had rushed to embrace. And yet still they came. That's what she said. And thus the raiders continued to receive. Arrow whipping about, removing threat on rear, then another affront. Diego kept his spear steady. Orcs now exercising even more caution. Those foolish enough to actually approach quickly turned back. Or worse. Their will had now begun to sag. Orcs built their entire strategy around momentum, and theirs had been utterly broken from the start. The ones on North in particular, distant as they were from their mighty leader, one whom himself seemed particularly reluctant to engage. And the raiders still stood strong, knowing that the ones they had removed, as numerous as they were, had simply been the chaff. The ones meant to soften them up before the actual Orcan warriors, the veterans of many conflicts, finally waded in. The intent, of course, being to have worn them down, to have broken their ranks, and to have made them easy prey. But with that reality simply refusing to manifest, the orcs now seemed at a loss. The last of their lost youth finally realizing the folly of trying to claim first kill. Though a few did still rush in, bloodied for their effort. And the raiders pushed back. Two more meeting random end. Douglas knuckling up. And Arrow officially into his second quiver. Discouraging another dastard. And with their ablative expendables dealt with, the warriors finally moved in. Well, sort of. A few orc youths still stood, one swiftly disarmed. Really, bud? You would rather stand in poison gas than actually engage. It is interesting. I do feel like they've made the enemies a bit too cautious when it comes to the spear walls, which I know used to be a pretty common cheese tactic. It just feels like kind of an overcorrect. Gutless, Rax muttered, finally breaking rank. Mal quick to join. The rest of the raiders followed suit, Drak dispatching the last on center. Alois angling a shot south. Their shrapnel simply clattered off an orc brute's bulwark. Doug finally making his move, braining brash youth. Rax de-ribbed Rowdy in passing. Random falling back just slightly as Verlin held the flank. Arrow ushered injured orc into afterlife. Diego catching his breath, his sphere finally dipped. Let's see if that invites them in. Oh, yep, look at that. Pretty much immediately. So yes, they really do seem to fear those spears. And with the warriors finally wading in, the last few youth found their second wind. Though that was sure to be short-lived, as Ilsut Ghoul himself pulled a runner. He really was the smartest among them, the first to recognize certain death. Too late for those two. Torn apart by twisted metal. Drakiith scanned the field. Still a fair few active on North. I mean, nothing I'm really worried about, but yeah, we should probably get that tamped down. Another orc suffered loss of face, turning to flee. Val Siege, the one soft target still standing. Doug utterly demolishing an orc warrior's armor. The orc likewise feeling fear as his carapace peeled away. Mal massacring more miscreants. Random sensing another. The orc turning to run. But too late, of course. Already pinned. Arrow catches his... Oh, okay. And finally, some pushback. If just barely. Ah, right. Seymore needs some rest. And look who it is. Ilska Ghoul, skulking back in. Just in time to see the rest of his warband drop. Honestly, not like a whole lot of reason for us to run him down, but I suppose we should. I mean, narratively, that is the reason we came here in the first place. I just really kind of thought we'd have more of a fight. I guess maybe we really are just past the point of greenskins posing much of a threat. Which again, I think really does kind of come down to them just not really having much in the way of endgame units, you know. Bandits and nomads at least have their various elite. Hedge knights, executioners, assassins, master archers, etc. Which can also be champions, you know, making them even more lethal. I mean, technically you can encounter a champion orc warlord, but nice ricochet play. I just bounced right off Drakiith before running away again. Good story to tell his friends if he can actually get clear. And there go the warriors. Yep, they've finally realized. Oh, okay, here we go. Valen under threat. A brief moment of peril. Arrow rushing to his aid. And orc immediately broken. All right, false alarm. As you were, gentlemen. What's up, Ilska? Yeah, if they hadn't held back so much, they definitely would have put up more of a fight. They were just way too scared of those spears. Lout leg shot. Foe flailed. Ooh, okay. Rex lightly battered, but now moving in to assist. Honestly, I really am just kind of tempted to let that one go. That one youth off left. Who's that? Seymore? Slaughtering one that tried to sprint away. And the others ran. But the raiders persisted, since at the very least they did want to take down Ilskagul. And you know what, we'll mop up the others as well. Any ones that stick around to fight. Because as cute as it might be to let that youth go, he is ultimately destined to just become another killer long term. I think that's been pretty well established in the lore. But we'll make it quick. Euthanized. Ordained for death. A ghoulish fate. And yet, what's this? You're approaching me. The final, foolish act of defiance in the face of death. Ultimately futile. Yeah, that was pretty sad. Legacy level for Alois, though. Always nice. Ooh, and look at that. Aside from some general trade goods, honestly, more I think than we got from the Goblin city of Rulz. We also pulled the Mortal Flesh Cutter, yet another named cleaver for the pile. Plus the Hulking Board, our first orc shield. Which honestly is not worth the wait. I mean, it's very high durability, but how often do you get into a fight where that really matters? Stat-wise, as a shield, it's actually pretty inferior. But we'll take it. Makes a good conversation piece, if nothing else. We'll also take all these orc weapons. Those are good gold. So yeah, as sad as that fight might have been, as easy as Ghoul went down, I'd say well worth our time. Covers payroll for at least part of this trip. And yeah, you know, as much as I'd like to go for number 3, we're like an hour in at this point, so I really should probably wind it down. At the very least, another legendary target off our list, a unique item, plus a couple of famed added to our arsenal. And we now sit secure in the knowledge that, yeah, the Cerulean Scourge is really nothing for us to fear. We can curb stomp these cads with impunity, which really does kind of embolden me. I am still eyeing that monolith over yonder. We've only, I mean, at this point, we've only got like 5 things left on our to-do list. It's basically, I mean, the most mundane are probably trying to track down some Ents to find the Fountain of Youth, which have got to be somewhere. I mean, we've still got some wildlands up here. We'll maybe prioritize checking that out next time round. But then beyond that, I mean, it's really just the monolith, the mill house, the Kraken, the Sunken Library. And I don't think we can actually do the Sunken Library. That one's one of the most obnoxious fights in the game, simply because it requires a very specific squad build. But the others, I mean, we're in pretty good shape. We might just do like a final boss rush before this current crisis comes to its end. A dangerous thought, perhaps, but one to at least consider. Next time. I'll see you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Erie V23, Revenant, Alois, Bowman, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.